My name's Tom Wheeler, and I turned 47 last week. Been hitched to Linda for 24 years, got 2 kids, Sarah, who's 20 and off at college, and Ethan, 16, who's convinced he's got the world figured out. I've been wrenching at the same auto parts warehouse since Sarah was in diapers. It ain't a fancy gig, but it's paid the bills, kept the roof over our heads, the fridge stocked, and the truck running. 55-hour weeks, sometimes more, and I haven't missed a rent payment on our little house in 18 years. Lately, though, the warehouse has been buzzing with rumors of cutbacks. 2 guys from the loading dock got canned last month, and the bosses keep tossing around words like optimization. Makes my stomach twist just hearing it. So, last Tuesday was my birthday. Most years, it's no big deal, maybe a frozen pizza and a 6-pack if I'm lucky. This time, Linda sent me a text while I was stacking brake pads at work. Be home by 6:30, Tom. Got something special planned. I'll admit, that put a little pep in my step. Things with Linda have been icy lately, barely a word between us unless it's about the electric bill or Ethan's latest attention. Sarah only calls when her bank account's dry, and Ethan's either glued to his PlayStation or grunting at me like I'm the enemy. But that text felt like a glimmer of something better. I punched out at 5:45, raced home in my '95 Ford F-150, still chugging along at 260,000 miles, and scrubbed the warehouse grease off my hands. Slipped into my one good flannel, the gray one Linda picked up for me at a thrift store a while back, and headed downstairs. The kitchen table was set up nice, not the chipped everyday plates, but the ones Linda's mom gave us when we got married. There was a cake, too, homemade looking with lumpy frosting, and a couple of candles flickering. For a second, I thought, man, they actually give a damn this time. Linda waved me to the head of the table like she was some game show host. Sarah was there, home from college for once, holding her phone like she was about to film a documentary. Ethan had this sly grin, the kind he gets when he's up to no good. They belted out happy birthday, but it sounded off too fast, like they were rushing through it. I noticed them shooting little looks at each other, and my gut started to tighten. Still, I brushed it off. Sat down, tried to soak in the moment. After the song, Sarah slid a box across the table. It was wrapped in shiny red paper, taped up sloppy, but with a bow on top. Open it, Dad, she said, her voice all bubbly. I figured it was a tie or a coffee mug, something cheap but thoughtful. They're into it slow, 'cause Linda always says I rip presents like a bear clawing a trash can. Inside was this little wooden plaque, maybe 8 inches long, painted black with gold letters. I tilted it to read. World's #1 loser. Took a beat for it to sink in. Then they all busted out laughing, Linda snorting into her hand, Sarah zooming in with her phone, Ethan slapping the table like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Say something, Dad. Sarah yelled, still filming. Give us your loser speech. Linda chimed in. We saw it at the flea market and couldn't resist. It's you to AT. Ethan just kept cackling, muttering, loser, loser, under his breath. I sat there, plaque in my hands, feeling my face go hot. 24 years of busting my hump, skipping hunting trips with the guys to cover Sarah's braces, driving that beat-up truck so Ethan could have new sneakers every fall, and this is what I get? A world's #1 loser plaque while my kid films it for kicks? I forced a grin, years of practice kicking in, mumbled, thanks, y'all. Real nice. Set the plaque down, blew out the candles. Wished for something I am proud of. The cake was vanilla, store-bought despite the homemade look, and we ate while they jabbered about some dumb TV show they love. I nodded along, throat tight, staring at that plaque glinting in the candlelight. Loser, it said, over and over, every time I blinked. Dinner wrapped up, and they shuffled to the living room, leaving me with the mess. I cleared the plates, scrubbed the forks, wrapped the leftover cake in foil. Heard Sarah in the next room. Did you see his face? Priceless. More laughter. I stuck the plaque on the counter, grabbed a beer, and headed to the shed out back. My spot. The one place in this house they don't invade. It's where I tinker with old lawnmowers, store my fishing gear, keep the world at bay. Sat on a stool, stared at the pegboard where my tools hang neat and orderly, and let the quiet settle in. Later that night, around 11, my phone pinged. Sarah had posted the video on TikTok, me opening the box, that stunned look on my face, the plaque held up like some trophy of shame. She'd slapped some goofy music over it, captioned it, Dad's big day. Hashtag loser plaque, hashtag family fun, hashtag epic fail. Already had 4,200 likes. I shut the phone off, turned it back on, checked our accounts. Joint checking, $3,912. Savings, $890. Linda's secret stash I'm not supposed to know about, $2,100. All of it built on my sweat. That's when it hit me. I've been their mule, their punching bag, their ATM with a pulse. That plaque wasn't just a joke. It was the truth they'd been screaming at me for years. I grabbed a notepad from the shed drawer and started scribbling. Stuff I own free and clear. People I can lean on. Places I could go. What I owe them legally versus what I've been handing over like a fool. By 2 in the morning, I had a plan. A man's only a loser if he keeps begging for respect from folks who've got none to give. I was done begging. Next morning, I'd start moving the pieces. For now, I sat there in my shed, the plaque's words echoing in my head, and decided it was time to rewrite the story. So there I was, sitting in my shed at 2 in the morning, that world's #1 loser plaque staring me down from the workbench where I'd tossed it. My name's Tom Wheeler, 47 years old, and I just decided my birthday gift from my family, Linda, Sarah, and Ethan, was the last straw. 24 years of marriage, 2 kids, and a job at the auto parts warehouse that's kept us afloat, and they think it's a riot to hand me a plaque calling me a loser. Posted it online for the world to laugh at, too. I was done. Wednesday morning rolled around, and I didn't sleep a wink. The alarm blared at 5:30, same as always, but I didn't haul myself to the warehouse like usual. Picked up my phone, still buzzing with TikTok notifications from Sarah's video, and called my shift lead, Pete. Hey, man. I'm taking a sick day, I said, voice rough from no rest. Pete laughed. You? Sick? What's next? The sky falling. I just said, something like that, and hung up. First sick day in 4 years. Felt like I was breaking out of jail. Linda was still snoring when I crept back into the house. Sarah had crashed on the couch after her late-night social media victory lap, and Ethan's door was shut tight. He'd sleep till noon if you let him. I waited till 7:45, when Linda stumbled out in her ratty slippers to head to her part-time gig at the hair salon. She didn't even glance my way, just grabbed her purse and muttered something about being late. Sarah left for the bus back to college around 8, and Ethan dragged himself out for school at 8:15. House was mine by 8:30. Time to get to work. I'm a practical guy. Always have been. You don't keep a 95 Ford running without knowing how to take things apart and put them back together right. So I treated this like a rebuild, figure out what's broke, grab the tools, and start fixing it. First stop was the kitchen junk drawer, where Linda stuffs bills and papers she doesn't want to deal with. Took me 20 minutes to sift through takeout menus and expired coupons before I hit gold. Bank statements, a couple of credit card bills, and a lease agreement for a storage unit I didn't know we had. The credit cards were a punch to the gut, $1.28, for 100 racked up across 2 accounts I'd never seen. Charges for spa days, online shopping, the gym membership Linda never used. The storage unit? $75 a month for the last 2 years, paid from our joint checking. My checking, really, since I'm the one filling it. I didn't take the papers, just snapped pictures with my phone. Evidence. Then I headed to the bedroom, flipped through Linda's nightstand. Found a prepaid phone bill for a number I didn't recognize. $60 a month, cash payments. My blood was boiling by then, but I kept it together. Drove my truck to a bank across town, not our usual branch. Didn't want Linda's cousin who works there tipping her off. Sat down with a teller named Cheryl, nice lady with glasses and a no-nonsense vibe. I need a new account, just in my name, I told her. She raised an eyebrow, asked, everything all right at home, hon? I shrugged. Let's just say the oil's leaking, and I'm tired of pretending it ain't. By 10:30, I had a checking account, solo, and a form to switch my warehouse paycheck over. Cheryl gave me a card for a financial guy she knew. Tucked it in my wallet. Next, I swung by the gas station, bought a cheap burner phone with cash. Activated it in the parking lot, staring at the pumps while it powered up. Called my old high school buddy, Ray, who runs a small trailer park about 20 miles out. Ray, you got any spots open? I asked. He didn't skip a beat. Got a single wide, nothing fancy. Needs a tenant. $600 a month, first and last up front. You in a bind, Tom? I said, something like that. Can I see it today? He told me to meet him at 1. Done. Back home by noon. I packed a duffel bag, just the essentials. My dad's old pocket knife, a couple flannels, jeans, work boots, and the photo of me and my brother from our last fishing trip before he moved to Texas. Left Linda's jewelry, the kids' baby books, all that sentimental stuff. I wasn't running off to cry about it, just needed a clean break. Then I hit the shed, loaded my toolbox into the truck bed. Those tools, wrenches, sockets, my granddad's hammer, they're mine, bought with my own cash over the years. Linda calls the shed my man cave, but it's more like my lifeline. Met Ray at the trailer park right on time. The place was small, faded blue siding, a tiny porch with a busted railing, kitchen the size of a closet. Smelled like pine cleaner and old carpet, but it was clean. Ray handed me the keys after I gave him $1,200 in cash from my last paycheck. You sure about this, Tom? He asked, scratching his beard. I nodded. Surer than I've been in years. He clapped me on the shoulder, said to call if I needed anything. By 3, I was back at the house, sitting at the kitchen table with a beer, staring at that plaque. World's #1 loser. Funny how a $10 flea market find could flip your whole life upside down. I pulled out my notepad from the night before, added a few lines, new account numbers, raised trailer address, a reminder to call the warehouse about a shift change. Linda would be home by 5, Ethan by 4 if he didn't ditch last period. Sarah was gone till the weekend. I had a window. At 3:30, I wrote a note. Kept it short. Linda, I'm out. Found your secret cards and phone. 24 years of me breaking my back, and you hand me a loser plaque. I'm done being your joke. I'll cover Ethan till he's 18, but that's it. File for divorce if you want, won't fight it. Left it on the table, propped against the plaque. Took one last look around, the couch where we used to watch movies, the fridge I'd fixed a dozen times, the walls I'd painted when we moved in. Felt like a stranger's house now. Loaded the truck, locked the shed, and pulled out at 4 sharp. Neighbor across the street, old man Jenkins, waved like nothing was up. I waved back, turned the key, and drove to the trailer. Unpacked my bag, set the toolbox by the door, cracked another beer. Sat on the lumpy couch Ray had left behind and let the quiet wash over me. No laughter, no TikTok chimes, no loser echoing in my ears. Just me and a new start. Tomorrow, I'd figure out the rest. For now, I'd want something myself back. My name's Tom Wheeler, and it's been 2 days since I walked out on Linda, Sarah, and Ethan, my family of 24 years, after they handed me that world's #1 loser plaque for my 47th birthday. I'm holed up in a single-wide trailer now, courtesy of my buddy Ray, about 20 miles from the house I used to call home. Left my job at the auto parts warehouse in the rear view too, but more on that later. Right now, it's Thursday morning, and I'm sitting on a creaky porch step with a cup of instant coffee, figuring out what comes next. That first night in the trailer was weird. Quiet, too quiet. No Linda banging pots in the kitchen, no Ethan blasting his video games, no Sarah yapping on her phone. Just the hum of a mini fridge Ray left behind and the occasional cricket outside. I barely slept, but not 'cause I was torn up about leaving. Nah, it was more like my brain wouldn't shut off, kept running through the plan I'd scratched out in my shed. New account, new phone, new place. Check, check, check. Felt good, like I was finally driving instead of just riding along. Wednesday, I'd gone back to the warehouse like nothing happened. Clocked in at 6, hauled crates of spark plugs and oil filters till my back screened. My supervisor, Dave, pulled me aside during break. "You look like hell, Tom. That sick day throw you off?" I shrugged, said, "Just needed a reset." He nodded, then mentioned a maintenance training gig next week, 3 days at the regional hub, 40 miles west. Nobody else wanted it, too much standing around listening to suits talk about efficiency. I jumped on it. "Sign me up," I said. Dave grinned. "You're a glutton for punishment." If he only knew. That night, I tried talking to Linda one last time. Figured I owed it to 24 years, you know? Sat at the trailer's tiny table, dialed her from the burner phone. She picked up on the third ring, voice sharp. "Who's this?" I said, "It's me, Tom." Silence. Then, "What do you want?" I took a breath, asked if she'd ever thought about us seeing somebody, a counselor. Maybe. She laughed, bitter and loud. "What, so some shrink can tell me I married a stick in the mud?" Pass. Ethan yelled something in the background about his controller dying, and she snapped at him before hanging up. That was that. Door slammed shut. Thursday morning, I was up at dawn. Coffee in hand, I drove back to the house while Linda was at the salon and the kids were out. Used my key, didn't feel right, but it's still my name on the lease, and grabbed what was mine. My fishing rods from the shed, the tackle box my dad gave me when I was 12, a stack of car magazines I'd stashed under the bed. Found a shoebox in the closet with old letters from my mom, rest her soul, and a faded Polaroid of me and Linda from our first date, grinning at a county fair, cotton candy stuck to her chin. Kept the photo, left the rest. Took pictures of the lease agreement, utility bills, my pay stubs from the last 5 years. Proof I'd held up my end. By noon, I was at the trailer, unloading. Ray stopped by with a folding chair he'd found in storage. "You settling in all right?" he asked, leaning on his truck. I nodded. "Yeah, man. Thanks for this." He waved it off, said, "Anytime. You need a hand moving more stuff, just holler." Good guy, Ray. Always has been. After he left, I called the warehouse, told Dave I wasn't just skipping the training, I was done. Quit right there on the spot. "You serious?" he asked, voice cracking. "Dead serious," I said. "Got a better offer." He wished me luck. Sounded like he meant it. That better offer? A mechanic shop across town, owned by a guy named Carl I'd met at a car show years back. He'd been after me to jump ship for months. Said I knew more about engines than half his crew. I called him Wednesday night. Asked if the spot was still open. "Hell yes," he'd said. "Start Monday if you want." So I did the paperwork over the phone, and by Friday afternoon, I was standing in his garage, shaking his hand. Smaller place than the warehouse, but it smelled like oil and steel, my kind of place. Pays a hair less, but no more hauling crates. I'd be fixing things again, not just moving them. Friday night, Linda figured out I was gone. Got a call from my old neighbor, Jenkins, while I was eating a microwave burrito at the trailer. "Tom, your wife's raising hell over here," he said. "Showed up at your old shift time, banging on the warehouse door in pajamas, screaming you'd cleaned us out and split. Cops had to calm her down." I snorted. "Cleaned out? She's sitting on a paid-off lease and a car I fixed up myself." Jenkins chuckled. "Yeah, well, she don't see it that way." Hung up, blocked her number on the burner. Checked the accounts online. Joint checking still had $3,000, savings untouched. I'd only taken my last paycheck to the new account. Her or nothing was a lie, like always. Saturday, I hit the thrift store. Picked up a beat-up coffee table for $10, a lamp that didn't flicker too bad. Dropped another 20 on a used skillet and some plates. Trailer's starting to look like a home, not just a crash pad. Sat on Ray's folding chair that night, flipped through one of my car mags, and felt something I hadn't in years, peace. No loser plaque glaring at me, no kids snickering, no Linda's sarcasm cutting me down. Just me, a cold beer, and the sound of a train rumbling in the distance. Sunday, I'd deal with the fallout. Linda'd probably lawyer up soon, and Sarah's TikTok was still out there, racking up likes. Ethan hadn't texted, hurt more than I'd admit. But for now, I'd shifted gears. New job, new place, new life. Ain't fancy, but it's mine. And that's more than I've had in a long damn time. It's been a week since I, Tom Wheeler, ditched my old life, left Linda, Sarah, and Ethan behind after that world's #1 loser plaque they gave me for my 47th birthday. I'm 24 years deep into a marriage that's gone sour, father to a 20-year-old college kid who'd rather film my shame than hug me, and a 16-year-old son who barely looks up from his games. Now I'm in a single-wide trailer, working a new gig at Carl's mechanic shop, and trying to piece together what's left of me. Sunday morning, I figured the storm was coming, and it did. Woke up to my burner phone buzzing like a hornet's nest. 17 missed calls from Linda's number, a dozen texts ranging from, "Where are you?" to "You selfish jerk, get back here." Ignored them all, sipped my coffee on the porch step, watched the sun creep over the trailer park. Then Jenkins called again, my old neighbor with the gossip. "Tom, Linda's losing it," he said. "She's telling everybody you stole everything and ran off with some woman. Even came by my place asking if I'd seen you." I laughed, dry and tired. "No woman, just me and my truck. She's got the house, the car, the accounts, minus my last check. She's full of it." Jenkins sighed. "Well, she's convincing the block otherwise." By noon, Sarah jumped in. "Got a text, not a call, mind you, from her number. 'Dad, you're trending. Check TikTok.' Against my better judgment, I did. Her video of me opening that plaque had blown up, 12,000 likes now. Comments calling me a deadbeat, a quitter, a loser for real. She'd added a new clip, teary-eyed, saying, "My dad walked out over a joke. Guess he never loved us." My gut twisted. 20 years of driving her to soccer, paying her tuition, and she's painting me as the villain for clout. Blocked her number 2. Ethan stayed silent, radio quiet from my boy, and that stung worse than the rest. Monday, I was under a Chevy at Carl's shop, wrenching on a busted alternator, when the storm hit harder. Carl tapped my boot, said, "Tom, some lady's out front yelling for you." Wiped my hands, stepped outside, and there's Linda, hair wild, still in her salon apron, eyes red. "You think you can just vanish, Tom?" she screamed, loud enough for the gas station next door to hear. "You left us with nothing. The power bill's due, Ethan's school fees, nothing." I kept my voice low. "Linda, I left $3,000 in checking, paid the lease through next month. You've got your secret cards, use them." She froze, mouth open, then spat. "You're a coward." Carl stepped in, said, "Ma'am, this is private property. Move along, or I call the cops." She glared, stormed off. Customers stared. I went back to the Chevy, hands shaking. Tuesday, a certified letter showed up at the trailer. Ray signed for it, handed it over with a grimace. Divorce papers from Linda, claiming desertion. Wanted the house, half my pension from the warehouse days, and child support for Ethan. I called Carl's buddy, a lawyer named Greg, who'd done his divorce cheap. Met him at a diner that night, handed over my stash, photos of her credit card bills, the storage unit lease, my pay stubs. Greg skimmed it, said, "She's got no legs to stand on for half your pension. You barely tapped it. Child support's fair for Ethan, but we'll fight the rest. You've got proof you didn't abandon squat." Felt like a weight lifted, but not all the way. Wednesday night, I was frying eggs in my thrift store skillet when Ethan texted. First time since I left. "Dad, Mom says we're broke cause of you. My PS5 broke, can't replace it. 16 years old, and that's his worry." I replied, "Not broke, son. I'm sending money for your school stuff, check with the office tomorrow. PS5's on you." He didn't write back. Cracked another egg, ate alone, wondered if I'd ever get my kid back. The storm was loud, Linda's tantrums, Sarah's online lies, Ethan's distance, but I stood in it. New job was solid, trailer was mine, and I wasn't a loser, no matter what that plaque said. Next step was fighting back, legal and personal. I wasn't running anymore. 2 weeks into my new life, I'm Tom Wheeler, 47, living in a trailer after leaving Linda and the kids over that birthday plaque, world's #1 loser that broke me open. I'm wrenching at Carl's shop now, dodging Linda's chaos, and trying to keep my head above water. The divorce papers hit last week, and I'm ready to swing back. Thursday morning, I met Greg, my lawyer, at his cramped office, smelled like stale coffee and paper dust. Laid out my case. Pictures of Linda's hidden $28,400 credit card debt, the mystery phone bill, the storage unit I never signed for. Showed him bank records proving I'd left money behind, plus my new job's paycheck stubs. "She's claiming I deserted her with nothing," I said. Greg leaned back, chewed his pen. "Tom, this is a gold mine. She's been bleeding you dry while crying poor. We counterfile financial misconduct on her end. You'll keep your pension, split the house equity fair, and pay Ethan support direct. She won't like it." I nodded. "Good. Let's hit her where it hurts." Filed that afternoon. Greg said it'd take a couple weeks to serve her, but the ball was rolling. Felt like I just tuned up an engine. Everything clicking into place. Back at the shop, Carl gave me a thumbs up. "Heard you're lawyering up. Smart move." I grinned, first real one in days, and dove into a transmission job. Work was my anchor now, grease under my nails, tools in my hands, no TikTok nonsense to dodge. Friday, Linda found out I wasn't at the warehouse anymore. Got a text from Pete, my old shift lead. Your wife showed up again, madder than a wet cat. Said you quit despite her. Cops came again, second time this week. I laughed, texted back, let her yell. I'm done caring. That night, I hung a shelf in the trailer, put up my dad's tackle box and that fair photo of me and Linda. Looked at her smile, young, real, and wondered where that girl went. Threw the plaque in a drawer. Out of sight, not out of mind. Saturday, Ethan showed up. Knocked on the trailer door while I was sipping a beer, listening to Skinnerd. Stood there with his backpack, scuffing his sneakers. Mom said I could come, he mumbled. Can I stay the night? My heart did a flip. Course, but. Come in. He flopped on the couch, at my skillet. You cook here. I fried us some burgers, and we ate watching a car chase movie. He talked, first time in months, about school, his broken PS5, how Linda's been screaming at the walls. She says you hate us, he said, quiet. I set my plate down. Never hated you, Ethan. Just couldn't stay where I'm a punchline. You're always welcome here. He nodded, didn't push it. Slept on the couch, left Sunday with a see ya, Dad. Small win, but I'd take it. Monday, Sarah's TikTok hit 20,000 likes. Friends from the warehouse texted, some mad, some worried. One guy, Mike, wrote, she's trashing you bad, man. You okay? Replied, better than ever. Didn't check the video, didn't need to. Linda called again, left a voicemail. You're ruining us with this lawyer crap, Tom. Call me. Deleted it. Greg said the counterfiling would land soon. Let her stew. By week's end, I'd settled into the trailer routine. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Ethan texted once, about school, not Linda. Sarah stayed silent, her online army growing. Linda's storm was still raging, but my counterpunch was in motion. I wasn't just surviving, I was fighting. 3 weeks since I, Tom Wheeler, walked out on Linda and the kids, 47 years old, 24 years married, done with being the family joke after that world's #1 loser plaque. Trailer's home now, Carl shops my paycheck, and the divorce fight's heating up. Saturday's when it all came to a head. Greg called Friday night. Linda got the counterfiling today. She's pissed. Her lawyer wants to talk settlement tomorrow. Coffee shop, 10, neutral ground. You in? I said, hell yes. Slept better that night than I had in months, knew I had her on the ropes. Woke up, shaved, put on my good flannel. Drove to the diner, got there early, ordered black coffee. Linda rolled in at 10:15, jeans, no makeup, a tote bag instead of her usual purse. Looked tired, smaller somehow. Sat across from me, didn't meet my eyes. Tom, she started, picking at her napkin. This lawyer stuff's crazy. You're making me out to be some monster. I sipped my coffee, kept cool. Found your cards, Linda. 28 grand you hid. Secret phone, storage unit I paid for. Monster's a stretch, liar fits better. She flinched, stared at her hands. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she said, voice low. Been drowning for years, bills, kids, you always gone working. The plaque was my dumb way of yelling back. I leaned forward. Yelling's talking, not humiliating me for laughs. Sarah filming it? Your idea. She nodded, slow. Thought it'd wake you up. Went too far. My jaw tightened. 24 years, and she thought a public gut punch would wake me up. I said, you could have said something, anything, before it hit that. I worked my ass off for us, and you turned it into a circus. She looked up then, eyes wet. I know. I messed up, Tom. But I can't lose everything now. We hashed it out calm, like strangers splitting a tab. She'd keep the house, refinance it out of my name. I'd keep my warehouse pension, my truck, my tools. Ethan's support direct through me. No more joint account games. She agreed, said she'd drop the desertion claim. Signed a napkin deal, Greg'd formalize it later. Left the diner, felt lighter but hollow. Drove to the trailer, found Ethan there, unannounced, backpack in hand. Mom's a wreck, he said, kicking gravel. Can I stay the weekend? Cooked him spaghetti, watched him play a card game on my thrift store TV. He asked, you hate her now? I shook my head. Don't hate her, just done being her doormat. You're my kid, not my enemy. He smirked, first time I'd seen it in weeks. Good. 'Cause your cooking sucks. Laughed, real, loud. Bonded over burnt sauce and bad TV. Sunday, Linda texted, Ethan okay? Replied, yeah, with me. Back tonight. She wrote, thanks, Tom. I'm sorry. First apology in years. Didn't respond, didn't need to. Sarah's TikTok was still up, but like slowed. She hadn't called. Maybe she wouldn't. Hurt. But I'd live. Monday, Greg filed the settlement. Said it'd wrap up in a month, clean break. Work at Carl's was steady, fixed a Mustang that purred like a dream. Trailer felt like mine, tools on the shelf, Ethan's soda cans on the counter. The reckoning came, and I'd faced it. Not a loser, just a guy taking back his life. It's been 5 weeks since I, Tom Wheeler, left Linda, Sarah, and Ethan behind, 47 years old, 24 years of marriage down the drain, all sparked by that world's #1 loser plaque. Divorce is finalizing. I'm in my trailer, wrenching at Carl's shop, and finding my footing. This is where the road's at now. Monday, the papers came through. Greg called, settlement's official. House is Linda's, pension's mine, Ethan's support set. No more lawyers, no more fights. Celebrated with a beer and a sunset on the porch. Quiet victory. Work's been my rock. Carl's got me leading jobs now. Says I've got a knack for engines and people. Fixed up a 72 Camaro last week. Roared it around the lot. Felt like me again. Hands dirty. Head clear. Ethan's been over every weekend. Shows up with his backpack. Crashes on the couch. Helps me tinker with an old bike I snagged at a junkyard. Last Saturday, he brought the plaque. Cracked from when he chucked it after I left. Thought you might want it, he said, sheepish. I turned it over, still said, world's #1 loser, and laughed. Nailed it to the shed wall. Not as a dig, but a badge. Proof I ain't running anymore. I told him. He grinned, said, you're weird, Dad. Best compliment I'd had in a while. Linda's quieted down. Text about Ethan's schedule, nothing else. Jenkins says she's working more at the salon, selling stuff online to cover her cards. Heard she's seeing a counselor, good for her, I guess. Don't wish her ill, just don't wish her near me. Sarah's another story. TikTok's at 25,000 likes, but she took down the sob story clip. Sent me a text Tuesday, Dad, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to blow it up. Didn't reply, not ready. She's got growing up to do, and I've got limits. Wednesday, Ray threw a barbecue at the trailer park. Me, Ethan, Carl, some neighbors, grilled burgers, swap stories. Ethan bragged about our bike project. First time he sounded proud of me since he was 10. Carl offered me a raise, small, but steady. Said, your family here, Tom. Minute. Felt like roots sinking in shallow, but growing. Today's Friday. Woke up slow. No panic about being late, old warehouse habit fading. Trailer's home, bike parts on the table, Ethan's sneakers by the door, my tools in the shed. Plaque still up, catching sunlight. Ain't mad at it anymore. It's just a thing, not my truth. Called Ethan, planned a fishing trip next month, first in years. He said, cool, and I heard a smile. Road ahead's open. Might fix up the trailer, might not. Might mend things with Sarah someday, might not. Linda's a memory, good and bad, but done. I'm not rich, not famous, just a mechanic with a truck and a kid who still calls me Dad. That's enough. Loser? Nah. I'm Tom Wheeler, and I'm driving my own damn life now.